Let's talk about personality quizzes for coaches, specifically for driving leads and email list growth. My name is Josh. I'm the co-founder at Interact. Interact is the original lead generation quiz software, started all the way back in 2013. We've mostly worked with coaches and creators and e-commerce business owners, but coaches has always been the bread and butter. So I'm really passionate about this. And I want to talk you through the framework for creating personality quizzes for coaches specifically that I've been seeing in 2025 and seems to be the trend going into 2026 and 2027. And here's what it is. So you're going to start off with a problem set. And that problem set is going to ideally come from DMs or questions that people ask you one-on-one. Why are you looking there for the problem set that you're going to solve? Well, it's because personality quizzes are personal. And the questions that people ask you in your DMs or that people ask you one-on-one, like not in a group setting, not in a comment, not in a community, are the questions that they want to know a personal answer to. What's the best answer for me? So let me give you a couple examples here. One from Advice with Erin. Erin created a quiz. It's a career type quiz. And the reason why she created that quiz is that people kept DMing her asking, I feel like I'm in the wrong career. Something feels off. I don't feel like I'm on the right track. This persistent inward turmoil is how she described it when I interviewed her on our podcast. And it just turned out that people felt like they were in the wrong career, but they wanted to know the right career or the right career type for them as an individual, not just like, oh, what's the list of the best careers? The problem was not like, oh, what's the highest paying or what's the best or what's the most average rewarding careers. It was what's going to work for me, which is why they were DMing instead of just asking for a video or commenting, whatever. So that was the source of that idea. Similarly, I talked to Carly Banks, who is an Ayurvedic coach, teacher, and she has a body type quiz that helps people find what's draining their energy. So it's basically like, okay, here's your body type. Here's why your energy is being drained. Here's how to get it back. Her whole thing is like really simple stuff, like easy things that you can do to get more energy based on your body type. And in order to know what she should recommend, she needs to know your body type. So people would DM being like, hey, my energy is low. I'm out of energy. I feel tired. And first, she needs to understand what their body type is before she can give a recommendation. So she created an Ayurvedic body type quiz, and Erin created a career type quiz. This kind of goes on and on. The pattern is always the same, though. People come in with a question, and in order to answer that question, you need to know who they are, not just like a list of facts. Like you need to know more about the psychographics. That's the big fancy word for it, which is basically anything that's not a demographic. Like demographic, you generally probably know about your audience, right? My audience is generally these ages and they have these traits or they live in these places, whatever. Psychographics is more like, what are your feelings? How do you like things? What's your preferences? What do you dislike? All that kind of stuff. Like, who are you as an individual? That's the information that you would need to gather in order to answer a question like, what's your ideal career? Or what's your Ayurvedic body type, so that I can help you diagnose how to get more energy. So that's where you're going to start. It doesn't have to come from DMs, but I have found that it's the questions that people are too scared or don't want to ask in a public setting that are the best questions to answer with a quiz. It's like the question beneath the question. And the thing is, like, if you can get there and you can address that with your quiz, then it makes people feel like you know who they are, and it builds a ton of trust before they even start taking the quiz, which the whole thing with quizzes is building trust. A different interview I did this year with Hannah from Salary Transparent Street, she's all about that. She was talking about that the whole time we were on the conversation, like building trust. Her quiz is not a personality quiz. It's a, are you underpaid, kind of like diagnostic type quiz. And her quiz equally addresses what people are thinking, where it's like they're watching her videos that's on the street interviews, asking people about their jobs and how much money they make. And her quiz is like the natural next thing, because everybody's watching these videos being like, well, am I getting paid enough? And so you want to address that thing that is on people's minds, the back of their minds or the front of their minds, wherever it is, somewhere in the mind, as they are watching your content, as they're engaging with you, as they're seeing your content on social media. It's generally where people see your content. So, or if they're listening to your podcast or following you on YouTube, whatever it may be. Okay, so that's the idea. That's step one. Step two is going to actually be going straight to the end and figuring out the different archetypes or the personality types of your quiz. And the way you're going to do that is, again, by compiling those conversations that you've had in your DMs or one-on-one, or pull from memory, or just like from your knowledge of your customers. What are the different types of people that I work with? What are the different types of careers that my audience finds to be fulfilling? And to actually answer that question of like, how do I feel good in my job? What are those things? So for Erin, there was 6, and she went through them on the podcast, 6 archetypes that she compiled from thousands of conversations with people over many years. And that's right there. That's the thing that I've seen as the most common through line amongst quizzes that work really well for coaches, whether it's a personality quiz or some other type of quiz. It's conversations that have happened over many years that have come together into this kind of aura of like, here are the different types of people that I generally work with. And they generally face these problems or this particular problem. And then your quiz is matching up the solution to that problem based on the type of person. And that comes from just years and years of customer research, conversations with people where you're listening and you're understanding like what is really bothering people, or what do they really want in working with me? Like something's bothering them that makes them come to me. They really want something that makes them come to me. What are those 2 things on both sides? That's like step 1, the idea. And then step 2 is like, okay, so from all of my conversations, who are these people? Like, who are they as individuals? And generally, this is where the word archetype comes in really handy, because the word archetype literally means like a type of person that everyone can look at and be like, oh, I know what that is, right? Like, think about like the jock from high school. That's an archetype. Like, oh, okay. Or like The Rock, one of my favorite people, right? So like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like he as himself is an archetype. Like you just know what his vibe is. Like generally happy, generally enthusiastic. His whole thing is like came from nothing, worked really hard, $12 in your pocket, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, be happy about it, be positive, right? That's an archetype. So these archetypes are things that people can immediately connect with. They don't have to think about it. And that's huge, because if you know that book, Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, he's a psychologist. And essentially what that whole book is about is like, if people have to think, then they stop. If they don't have to think, they go straight through. You don't want your quiz to make people think. If your quiz makes people think, they'll stop. And we purposely built Interact to be overly simple in terms of the flow of it. There's a lot of quiz builders that try to do a bunch of fancy stuff, and I guarantee you their overall conversion rates are much lower, because you don't want people to stop and think during the quiz. You want them to just flow through it. Then they start thinking after the quiz, because after the quiz, they've already given you their email address and you can continue communicating with them, which is the whole point of this. Okay, so build your archetypes. 6, generally the descriptions of those archetypes can be anywhere from a couple of paragraphs, that's the minimum, up to a full landing page. And you can redirect your results to your own landing pages if you want to using Interact, or you can use the built-in landing pages. If you use the built-in, then I recommend sending a follow-up email with a full description of the results. That's a nice tie-in, and also a nice way to ask people for their email is to say, hey, if you put in your email, I'll send you like a more full description. But if you want to create your own landing pages, and a lot of people do, there's some great examples. Like go look at Gretchen Rubin's quizzes, Jenna Kutcher's quizzes. Those have great landing pages at the end with lots of information, lots of description of what the result is. So there's 2 different ways to do it. Either way, you're asking for the email so that you can give more value. That's the whole thing. Okay, so you got your results. Now you go over to your questions, and the questions connect to the results. So essentially, if you think about it, right, I have 6 results. Every question should help me figure out which result somebody is, which personality type somebody is, which archetype somebody is. So every answer choice is going to correlate, and literally I'm drawing lines because that's how it looks in Interact. You're drawing lines between the answer choices and the results. And you can draw a line to more than one, so you can correlate to more than one result per answer choice, which is a nice way to have less questions. Or sometimes more questions is better. It just depends on what your audience wants. Like Aaron's quiz is 30 questions, and there's different types of questions. There's lots of specificity, and it's great. It's collected 140,000 emails plus. Carly's quiz, a little more simple. It's shorter, but each question is loaded in the sense that like you learn a lot by answering that question, both as the quiz taker and as the quiz creator. So different approaches. Carly's quiz has generated about 170,000 leads. And so either approach, it's really just depends on what your audience wants. And this again goes back to those DM conversations or the conversations that you have with your customers. How long does it take you? And what does your customer prefer? Do they prefer that you ask them a ton of questions before giving a personality type or a recommendation? Then make your quiz long. Do they prefer that you just ask a few really pointed questions and then give them an answer right away? Know what their preferences are and tailor your questions to that. Generally, questions should not be long. Like, don't write a whole paragraph of text. Again, that's going to make people think. Back to the Daniel Kahneman. Don't make them think. Make it immediate. Like, make the question set up in a way where it's like, I read this and I immediately know which answer is me. Oh, that one. Okay, cool. You do not want people to be sitting there agonizing over it. They will already agonize enough. If you sit with people and watch them take your quiz, you'll be shocked. Like, you built it, so you know everything and you've spent a lot of time on it. But when people take your quiz, they will sit there and agonize over the questions, even if you think it's the simplest thing in the world. So you got to do a lot of research there. I also interviewed, Naomi created a quiz for NASA, and that quiz, it was trying to connect people to NASA missions, which is quite the undertaking. They absolutely crushed it. It went incredibly well. It was at Comic-Con, great exhibit. But the way that she thought about the questions was down at the word level. Like every word and the flow of the words and the sequencing of the words, all picked out based on what the audience wanted, and then also based on what the folks at NASA actually say when they refer to things. And so it was like double-sided. So you really want to get into the questions and think about, how am I wording this? Will somebody immediately know the answer to this? Like, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that's how you want to handle that. And then when you're asking for the email, I'm just going to go over this really briefly because that's the whole point. If you do everything else perfectly, then asking for the email goes really fast and really easy. You're just going to say, I can send you a longer version of your results, or I can send you more information similar to the results of the quiz. Like, if you want to know more about ideal careers, if you want to know more about your ideal career, if you want to know more about your body type, enter your email. On average, 40% of people opt in. So that's across 100 million leads generated on our platform since 2013. And it hasn't changed. Like the very first quiz we built, same thing. But the commonality between all the quizzes that have the high conversion rates is that they do all the work in the title of the quiz and the framing and the questions and the results and the archetypes and the personality types. It's already done. So then when you ask for the email to send more information about their result or more context about their personality type, they're just like, yeah, that's helpful. I would like that. And that's all you want it to be. That's all you want it to be by that point. So this is how personality quizzes work for coaches. Most of them are promoting these on Instagram, TikTok, using Reels. So they're talking about like the different personality types. And then they say, go take my quiz to find your personality type, or the different issues facing people. Go take my quiz to find the issue facing you. So you're talking about the end first, or you're talking about like why you created the quiz. Basically, the reel is not about the quiz itself. It's about the value that the quiz provides. And then you say, go take the quiz and use ManyChat. Just send it to them. Embed the quiz onto your site. So whether you use Squarespace, Show It, whatever, embed it onto your site first. That way, when people comment on the ManyChat, you can send them a link and directly embed it into the site on its own page. And then connect it up to your email list. We integrate directly with Flowdesk, Git, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, all of them. So whatever you're using, you can segment out the results based on personality type, based on archetype. Definitely do that as well. So you can send those personalized follow-ups. And that is quizzes, specifically personality quizzes for coaches in 2025. Well, it's almost end of 2025. So going into 2026, That's my guidance. My name is Josh, co founder at Interact.